Google has shaken up the entire entrepreneurial community. They keep throwing curveballs at us. And today I'm going to show you how you can take advantage of the core update that is happening literally right now. We are in the middle of it, and it's good news for entrepreneurs everywhere. And if you follow what I'm going to cover in this video, I'll show you how you can take advantage of what's happening right now in Google so that you can get traffic. And if you've ever worried that you're a smaller publisher, you're a new website, you're not one of those giant sites like Reddit that Google seems to love, and you're worried that you can't get traffic, it's good news because you can. And I will show you exactly how in today's segment. So I'll show you all about the core update that Google is doing right now. They're right in the middle of reshuffling their algorithm. It's like the Vegas casinos when they take their deck of cards and they have the thing that shuffles it all up in the shoe and then it comes out remixed up again. They're shuffling the Google index as we speak, as I sit here recording this session, and it's all good news. So I'll show you exactly what's changing, what's going on, and what you should do about it to get more traffic for free to your website. Let's dive in. Now, in today's presentation, I have a slide deck, some detailed notes, our references, and all the materials are available to subscribers of our free newsletter. Just make sure you've subscribed to the free newsletter. We'll put a link in the description and in the comments down below with the link, and you'll be able to download this deck and many other decks. All of the decks and resources from our regular weekly shows are available to free subscribers. It doesn't cost a dime. Just go subscribe to our Ingeniosity newsletter. And again, I'll pop the links to that in the description below. And with that, let's get into it. So Google just started their core update. So there's a brand new core update that is occurring right now. And they're basically fixing a massive mistake. So a few months back, you might have heard, and there's been lots of publicity, lots of people complaining on the internet, lots of articles and news things talking about how it's impossible to rank in Google anymore if you're a small website or a small publisher, or if you're a new website. Also, lots of false and misleading information saying you can't use AI on your website or if Google's going to smack you and you're never going to rank. All of this stuff is false. And there was a lot of misinformation put out. And now what's basically happening is Google is correcting a mistake. And all of a sudden, as soon as the core update began, you've seen signs of smaller and newer quality websites. They're all getting their traffic back. Now, this update will roll out for quite some time. So if you're watching this a few weeks in the future, the update could take as much as a month to roll out before you see all of the effects. But we're already seeing signs. We're in the early days, just at the very beginning of the update, and we're already seeing signs of big wins for smaller independent entrepreneurs like you and I. So let's go into this with a little bit more details. So this is a little more information on the great catastrophe that started some time ago. Google did something interesting. I want to say maybe borderline misleading. What they did is they went out and they did a set of manual penalties. They actually went out and they sent humans, not their algorithm, not bots, but humans on a search and destroy mission. And so they sent their army of quality raters out to go find websites, and they manually penalized them basically and nuke them right out of the listings. And they did this to make an impact. They wanted to scare the you-know-what out of all of us entrepreneurs so that we would maybe back off a little bit and not do some spammy tactics that they had been seeing. Because there are people out there that are purely spamming Google. They're hitting them with hundreds of thousands and millions of pages of garbage. That is happening. And Google had no defense against it. So they went on a PR move where they manually smacked a bunch of entrepreneurs and scared the heck out of us all to make us think that we couldn't rank. All right. Now, there were many cases where they also applied a blanket, we'll call it a penalty. And what this was based upon was user behavior. So the one place where there really was a penalty was not because people were using AI, was not because of whatever tactics are being a small website or a big website or anything else. But what did happen was Google heavily emphasized real user behavior. So there was a secret document link, and Google claimed that they were not monitoring user behavior. They were not using the Chrome browser to track users, they claimed. They were not using things like Google Analytics and other tools to track users and follow them around. And it turns out that was all a lie, and they were. And that's what the last update was all about. The last update took real user feedback. And if you have a website where the users were not sticking around, they were not getting the help they need, they were bouncing out of your website, or they weren't finding the answers they were looking for, Google was tracking all of that. It's like the eye of Sauron from, if you're a fantasy movie or book reader, right? The all-seeing eye looking all across Google, the Google Earth. They saw that users were going to your site and not getting a good experience because they bounced out, or maybe they went back to the Google search results and did not find what they were looking for. If that was happening, they did penalize you. But they overtuned it, I think, as their mistake. They went a little too crazy on the penalties, and it swept up a lot of publishers. And at the same time that they penalized a whole bunch of publishers because of this spying that they were doing, they also artificially boosted large websites, right? So they took sites like Reddit as an example. There's a classic example with Reddit. They entered into a special agreement. Google actually paid Reddit. There was a whole negotiation, and then they boosted Reddit. And then other sites, like major news sites like the New York Times or the Washington Post, maybe major broadcast news. So these large giant sites are all at the same time getting an artificial boost. So they all got a boost, and at the same time, they turned the dial and they applied penalties based on user behavior. And I think what happens is, because all this happened at the same time, people jumped to conclusions and said things like, you can't rank with AI content. That's false, been proven false. New websites can't rank in Google, false. Small publishers can't rank in Google, also false. And so what Google is doing right now in the core update is they are turning the dial back. And some of the heavy penalties that they dished out based on user behavior, they're backing off a little bit. I think they overdid it. And I think what this does is it makes it easier for newer sites to rank. So it gives us a little bit of an edge for a newer site for us to get our foothold, figure out how to best serve our users, and get traffic to our websites. And so if you have a new site, I've done training on the channel about how to rank a new website. So you can find that video training on the channel. Then I also did some training about the insider document leak with Google that you're going to want to see. So if you use that information and you have a new website or you have a smaller website, you absolutely can rank in Google today, especially with the good news of them taking the big penalty dial and turning it down. And so here, let's go back to the presentation and I'll dive into some more detail, okay? So that was the big dilemma that everybody had when they were penalized. And now we have a revival. And there are many examples I'll show you here of this revival. You can see on this one, this site was absolutely obliterated, right? You can see the traffic went from over 12,000 clicks a day down to just totally crashed out, getting close to zero. And then here, the update just started, and see that uptick right there? So that is the sign that they are recovering. And I expect that as the update rolls out, you'll see that this will come back into a similar range up here. It may not break 12,000, maybe it will, but they'll at least recover the vast majority of their traffic. So with this core update, it has started and it is rolling out, and this could take as many as 6 weeks to roll out, okay? And the main goal, what we're told, is to support smaller sites so Google is able to surface or bring to the top more content from small and independent publishers. They're just straight out telling us that, okay? Also, they are talking about this being a helpful content update, and that this is actually, I think, them tuning down their penalty algorithms, okay? Now, big giant sites and user-generated content sites like Reddit, like Quora, like the giant news sites, they do still have an advantage. So the bigger sites do have an advantage over us smaller publishers, but they're trying to make the playing field a little bit more even, okay? And there's a thing here, and you can see it here at algoroo.com. They track the volatility, and that's the rate at which change is happening from search rankings moving all over the place, where one site might rank 5, then 1, then 10, and they're bouncing around, right? And we're in the period of a massive amount of volatility right now because of this algorithm update. Over the next few weeks, you may see that boom, you'll pop onto page 1 and start getting some traffic. And then 2 days later, you might pop off and disappear. Don't worry. It's going to continue to change, and it will level out as the update rolls out. So Google officially says here, today we've launched our August update in Google search. The update is designed to continue to work to improve the quality of search results by showing more content that people find genuinely useful and less content that feels like it was made to perform well on search. Okay. They also talk about how it takes into feedback about smaller creators and making some improvements there. And let me tell you what I take out of this. So if you have to read between the lines with their PR speak, here's what I think. They messed up. They're dialing the dial back down so that they're not penalizing sites quite as heavily. If you're a newer site, they're giving you a little bit more leeway to get users to your site, work out how to give them a good experience, and they're not going to be quick to hit you with a penalty if they see negative signals coming from like the Chrome browser or Google Analytics. That's what this is all about. And so I think it's good news. That's the bottom line. It's good news for you and I. And I'm going to tell you the action steps that you should be taking in just a moment. And then the last thing about reading between the Google lines is all about over-optimized sites. Here's where I do think we need to be careful, okay? There are people that are using plugins and other tools that give you like an SEO score, and they'll rank your page. There are tools that you can point it at your website or feed your content. And I don't want to name any of them. I don't want to do any name and shame, but these tools can hurt you. Let me explain why. They'll give you a score, and usually it goes from 0 to 100. And the closer you get to 100, the better, right? And if you hit 100, then you're perfectly optimized, meaning your keywords are in all the right places, you're using all the right words, and Google theoretically will rank you as number 1. You would think that's a good thing, right? And it is for that one page. But let's say you do that every day. Every day you post a new piece of content and you score it 100 and you post it to your site. Okay, still a good thing, right? Okay, got 1 article ranking in Google, 2 articles ranking in Google's, 3 articles ranking in Google. If you keep doing this, it's going to be really obvious to Google what you're doing. And this is what they're calling over-optimized sites. You actually don't want to always do your content perfectly. Do your content with the single important guideline of providing a good experience to your users. Make sure that if you rank for a search query, that you actually answer the search query and you give the user what they're looking for on your page. That is more important than the 100 rank on the SEO tool, right? And so SEO your articles and get them into the 70s, right? And then another one, if you do 100 every once in a while with a really important keyword, that's fine, but don't overdo it. Don't over-optimize, and you use some of these tools that will help you like make a perfect page. Don't do that every single time, and instead focus more on just making sure that piece of content is actually useful and gives the user what they're looking for, right? And then you're gonna have the best of both worlds. You won't be hit with an over-optimization penalty, which is really what they're doing from a penalty side. You're gonna have good user signals. So then you're going to be able to give Google the feedback that says your content is helpful. And because you're a new site, you're going to get this advantage for them tuning the dial down. They're going to let some of our newer sites and our smaller sites now begin to rank. And that's how we take advantage of this. All right, let's go back to the slide deck. So Google obviously says, don't make content for search engines. And that's what we talked about there. You don't want, if you optimize your content and you try to make it be the best it can be, that's good, but don't do it just religiously every single time and overdo it. So this is what small and independent websites should really take a look at. Right now, you have a window where you can actually potentially get a ranking boost. And if you have seen penalties or you have struggled to get your content to rank, you may see it recover during this core update. Another thing that is really important is to lean into social media. Now, my recommended strategy, and again, it's linked here on the channel, but the recommended strategy is to use social media every time you put out a piece of content. And we taught a very specific strategy, or we call it the traffic trifecta over here. But look for that video on the channel. I'll link to it down below. And it teaches you how to properly use social media in a way that's going to help you here. Okay. Now, focus on original content. Now, that doesn't mean it's not made by AI. You can absolutely do fantastic content with AI, but you want to be careful about it in the way you do it. You want to make sure that it is structured in a way that has a unique perspective, provides value, and answers the search query. All right. On the other points, we're going to gloss over them. It's not as important. Now, there is a lot of cautious optimism about this in the SEO community, the search engine optimization community. People are rightly skeptical about Google. We've all learned to not trust Google, unfortunately, based on the leaks, the document leaks that they gave us, and other factors that sometimes you got to watch what Google does and not what they say. And there's a little anxiety, but what I am seeing are early good signs that sites are recovering and that you and I are going to be able to benefit from this. Now, one little piece of information that also happened, there was a bug happening in the Google search engine that they've also recently fixed. So I think this was causing a lot of confusion. So Google actually had a bug in the algorithm that was messing up the search results. So they weren't showing the right sites in the right order the way they wanted. And so they've also fixed that bug, just for a little bit of clarity. So not only do we have the core update happening, but they've fixed their search bug that I think was causing a lot of confusion of people thinking they were penalized or getting good results when maybe they shouldn't have. So again, focus on quality, don't over optimize, and pay attention. You want to monitor this. So one of the things that I advocate, that this is all based on the data that has leaked. And again, you can see the document link. I'll link to that down below, where you can see the internal Google documents that leaked that prove that Google is watching us all, right? If you use a Chrome browser, they're watching you. Right? If you use Google Analytics on your website, they watch your users and you when you do that. And we know that. What I recommend is constantly analyzing the flow of users to your website and seeing, number one, if you post a content in social media, are people interested in it? Do they click and come to your website? When they click, do they just bounce out and leave, or do they actually stick around and read the content where they get some value? So I pay attention to clues like this. And if I post a piece of content to social media and it's doing really well, I double down. And now I might post it multiple times. I might put ads on it. I might then go and spend a little more time optimizing that page. So often when I first publish a piece of content, I don't over optimize it. I do my best job to make an awesome piece of content. I'll try to use my keyword phrases and I just throw it out there, put it on social media. Now, if it's getting some traction, I'll post it multiple times, put some ads on, and then I'll start to optimize more. So now that I've seen that this content is useful, the users like it, people are visiting it, I'll spend a little more time to dial it in. I might use one of those search engine plugins that I talked about. I'll dial it in to make it as best as it can be. And then I try to get links pointing to it. And that's the process that you can go through. But it's by monitoring and paying attention to, do people like the content, is the overriding most important factor. Okay, let's jump ahead here. Okay, so I want to wrap up on this. The final note is that the keys to the kingdom, the secrets to how to rank, they are buried in a leak. So Google leaked this accidentally, this document that explains exactly how their search engine works. All the secret stuff, all the things that they denied that were not, they said, oh no, we don't track user behavior. That never happens. The document linked and we've leaked and we found out they do. So all of the information is in there, and I did a detailed walkthrough of how you can take advantage of this to rank on Google. So go check out that video on the channel and find out how you can get traffic. Also, I'll link down below for our traffic trifecta trainings. You can see more about how we get traffic with blog posts in social media. And this is the way. This is the way to break through and rank on Google and get some of that sweet free traffic. And a reminder, everything that you see linked in this deck, all the links to the videos, all the resources, the entire slide deck is available for free. All we ask is that you subscribe to our totally free Ingeniosity newsletter. Head on over to pushbutton.ai/subscribe to get your copy of the newsletter, totally free, and you'll get a link to this deck where you can download the notes. We give out all of our show notes from every Wednesday's live show, so you can see the resources, the links, the slide deck, and anything else we've got on the topic. Totally free. Just head on over there. And with that, I want to remind you, if you haven't yet, subscribe, comment, do all the things, which depending on where you're watching this at, and let me know if you have any questions about traffic. So if you want more questions that have to do with Google or maybe Facebook or any traffic method you want help with, ask them in the comments, and then I'll do my best to either answer them there or cover it in a future video. So let me know all those questions, and then we'll see you in the next video. But for now, bye.